righty. I'm gonna get started. Happy Saturday. I am gonna be making the first of my little animals for my character series. So hey y'all, welcome in. Today we're starting part one of my farm animal series. We're gonna do this lion. This is not a rush job. We're building this right here, right now. Structure first, detail second. So what I'll do is I will leave him here, but let me kind of go over some things before I start. Let me show you what I'm using today. I am going to be using my Everybody mold. I do make custom molds that are available on my website. So if you're interested in the mold, it can be found there. Link is in my bio. I'm also going to be using some cornstarch, which is my preference over powdered sugar. I'm going to be using my Dresden tool. I'm also going to be using some balling tools. I'm going to use a small paintbrush, a little water, and I'm also going to be using this scalloped cutter to put my little topper on, and of course, a fondant rolling pin. I will also be using these different color fondants. I already kind of pre pulled them out: a dark brown, a lighter brown, green, white, a tan, and black. And I'm also going to be using a little white. You can either use white paint or you can use a white food coloring. It's completely up to you. Now, as I'm working, I'm going to talk through why I'm doing things, not just what I'm doing. There's a difference in why you do and what you do. All right. So everything starts with a clean base. So if you want to, you can go ahead and do your base so that your base can dry while you're working on the rest of your elements. So I'm going to be doing a green, and of course, all of my fondants, some of these are fondants, some of these are modeling chocolates, but they're all satin ice. So this is the green we're going to be using for our base, and I'm going to move some of my tools out the way so that I'll have some space to work in. But I will keep our little guy in the screen. But I am going to move some of the things on the side that I'm not using right now. Okay. So we're starting off with our green fondant. And this is the cupcake topper part that you're going to actually put your character on. And what I did was I just kind of pulled out however much fondant I was going to use, and I just wrapped it in some saran wrap just so it's easy for me to work with. If you'd like to know, I will weigh out some of the fondant that I use just so that you'll know exactly how much fondant I'm using. The green fondant is zero point 0.8 ounces, so not quite 1 ounce. So it's zero point 0.8 ounces, and I think it would be fair if you use 1 ounce. All right, I am gonna dust it with some cornstarch, and I'm gonna roll out my fondant. And I'm gonna cut my scalloped backer, that my little man is gonna sit on. Now, I like to use molds because using a mold like the ones that I have, or that any molds that you use, they help keep shapes consistent. They save time and they avoid overworking the fondant, especially if you're making multiples, or developing a signature style. Molds are always great to use for that. Now, I like to kind of go around my piece that I cut out and kind of scrunch it in so that you don't have those little bits of fondant that can kind of be stragglers around your piece. I like to have a cleaner piece, so I use my mold, or whatever. I'm not my mold, but my cutter to kind of go around like that to make sure all of the little pieces have been collected around whatever I'm cutting out. And I'm just gonna take what's left of this little piece of fondant. I'm gonna wrap it back in my saran wrap because we don't waste fondant. As long as it's not overworked. Hi, hello, Robert, Madeline. Hi. And here's our little backer that we're gonna put our lion on once we're done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sit this on the side so that this can be drying while we do our lion. Just to give you an idea, this particular scalloped cutter is approximately 2.25 inches around, and it is a part of the Atico 9 piece. You can find all of the tools, well, not all of them, but the majority of the tools that I use. And it's a link in my bio for my Amazon storefront. So I did try to, make sure I had all of the tools that I'm using available to you all. But again, this is a 2.25 Atico scallop cutter, and it's a part of their 9 piece set of cutters. Okay. All right. So let's get started on our little lion. Again, I am going to be using my everybody mold. I custom make molds. I also do if you need a custom mold for something, you can always send me an email and I can make custom molds as well. But I do make some of my own molds that I just think, if I feel like it's something interesting that other people will want, I make a mold and I do sell them. So it is available. And we're going to be using this mold to make all of our creatures, but we're going to start out with our little lion. And my molds are heavy duty. I hand make each one to order. I don't bulk make them. When somebody orders them, that's when I actually go in and make them. I made this one for myself today because I sometimes will make them and people want them right then and then. I'll sell mine. But when you first get the molds that I make or that you get from anybody, you really should dust it with either some cornstarch or a little powdered sugar so that your fondant does not stick in it. Hi, Dale. How are you? All right. So again, I'm going to be using several different color fondants to make him. The dark color is for his hair. This color will be his body. We'll use this for his little paws. The white is for his eyes. And the black is for his eyes also. So I'm going to start out with this one, and I will put the rest of them on the side as I work through. And just in case you're interested, these are some of the other animals that I'll be doing over the next couple of Saturday lives. So hopefully you'll join me for that. If not, I will be saving these on my page. Now, this is a combination of fondant and modeling chocolate. Still satin ice. You don't have to do a combination. You can do straight fondant. I don't know if I would suggest straight modeling chocolate, just because it may be a little difficult to get out of the mold. Modeling chocolate can be real soft if you knead it or work it too much. So just be mindful of that. If you just use straight modeling chocolate, it can be a little difficult. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. And again, molds are really good to use as a foundation. That's what I like to say about my molds. It's almost like a foundation so that you can get the same, consistent piece. If that's what if what you're doing is, like making cupcake toppers, it allows you to get the same consistency throughout if you have to make more than one. All right, I'm gonna fill my mold. Now I can work my fondant modeling chocolate a little bit more, but it's okay. That'll be the back. And y'all excuse me if y'all hear any electric tools. I think my neighbors are building something. All right, so let's add this bottom part in. And the way that I feel my molds is different from the way other people might do it. I like to put my, my whatever I'm working with, fondant or modeling chocolate in, and I like to drag off what I don't need and then backfill. So if I notice I have too much in any one of my cavities, I just drag it out. And I try to make sure everything is inside of the actual mold design, and not sticking out, because I like to have a clean finish to my pieces. Thank y'all for joining. I really appreciate it. All right, and then I'm going to do the little arms. I normally try to keep my nails a little bit shorter because I tend to stick my nails in my fondant, which is not good. All right, and then we'll do the other one. And just using molds, ensures consistency. And look at your molds as a way, as a foundation. You can add on to it. Like I'm about to show you how you can make all kind of different things from one mold. All right, and then I'm going to put the rest of my fondant up. And I'm going to say, I did weigh this fondant before, so let me weigh it now. It's about 1.25 roughly that I put into the mold to make the little body. So that's roughly how much I put in. And the way that I evacuate my mold is I just turn it over and I let gravity do the work. I just let gravity do what I needed to do. And then I'm gonna just go in, make sure I didn't mess up anything when I popped it out. I am gonna go in between his legs because I like a cleaner look. So I'm just gonna go in with my Dresden tool and make sure all of the fondant is really, really clean. And I kind of like to open their little legs a little bit. I think it makes it look more like my style. And if I feel like I want to go in and add any additional little details, I do that. Think about, again, think about your mold as a foundation, a place for you to start. Then, the idea is for you to be able to add additional detail to make it what you need it to be. All right, so we have the head and our little body and the little arms. And again, this could be anything. It could be an animal, it could be a kid, it could be just about anything. So I'm gonna leave, well, I'm gonna put this up and I'm gonna go ahead and get started on his eyes first because I don't want my fondant to get hard and then I can't sculpt out the eyes. So I'm going to move this over a little bit so that I can see. I'm going to start out with a smaller balling tool than what I really need because I want to make sure I'm not making the eyes too big. We can always make them bigger. We can't make them smaller. And because my phone is actually, I'm going live on my phone and it's right over my head, I'm going to try and work around my phone. Now, I started out with this smaller one. And once I realized I was satisfied with the placement, I'm going to go in with a bigger balling tool to make the size eyes that I really want. Now, we could go a little bit bigger if we needed to. I'm going to go just a tad bit bigger just by using a bigger balling tool. And again, these you can find in the link in my bio as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do his eyes right quick. And this is again satin ice, but this is gum paste. You can use fondant or mild chocolate. I just grabbed the gum paste first, so that's what I'm going to use. If you happen to use gum paste, remember to work quickly because gum paste will dry out really, really fast. So I'm going to just take a ball of the white about that big, and I'm going to test it out to see if it fits in the eye the way I want it to. This is a little big in that it's protruding out of his head. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and I'm going to take a little bit off. Now I may be able to make two eyes out of this. I don't know. Let me see. So we're going to give it another try. Just try and get it as round as you possibly can. We are going to go in with our balling tool again to flatten it out. So I feel like I can make two eyes from that. And that's our two eyes. So I'm going to put the rest of my my gum paste up because we don't waste product. We save product. We don't waste it. All right. So, and just try to make sure it's as symmetric as you possibly can get it, but don't become obsessed with it. And then I'm going to use my balling tool to press my eye in, both eyes rather, just like that. I'm checking to make sure they are as symmetric as I can get them. Then I'm gonna, and I didn't notice, I didn't add any water or anything into that. Hey, Tori. I didn't add any water or anything in the sockets because my fondant and my gum paste, they're both very fresh, and they should stick to each other with no issue. Now let's do the black part of his eyes. And this too is satin ice. And this is gum paste as well. And again, you can use fondant. I just grabbed gum paste. That's what I had. All right, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to make a ball, place it in his eye. It's going to look weird at first until I, press it in. This one is a little bit bigger than the other one. So I'm going to just take some of the gum paste away. And again, he's going to look weird at first. Now, if you find that your gum paste, fondant, or whatever you're using is a little sticky, you can always just add a little cornstarch or powdered sugar or whatever it is you're using to keep it from sticking to the tool that you're using. And I'm just going to take my time and press out the eye, leaving just a little bit of white in the corner. I am going to switch his head around just so that I can see around my phone to make sure I'm getting as symmetric as I possibly can. Again, I'm going to say, we're not machines, so we can only do the best that we can do. If you find that you have extra cornstarch or powdered sugar on your piece, you can just take a brush of some type and just brush that away. All right, so we got that in. I'm going to wait till the end to put the little white, I call it a gleam in his eyes. I'm going to wait till the end because normally what I do is I knock it and then end up messing it all up. We're then going to do his two little cheeks, and Let me show y'all what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a piping tip to make that. So let's see which one did I use. Okay, so I'm going to use, because I don't have, I actually do have a smaller circle, but I'm going to use a piping tip because this is easy for anybody to find. This is a Wilton number 12. I'm going to use a Wilton number 12 to make his two little cheeks. And we're using the same color that we used for his body. Now, if you want to be different, you can always use the lighter one that we're going to use for his paws. If you wanted to, you could use the lighter one. I'm going to just go ahead and use the color that I used for the rest of his body. And we are going to roll this out a little bit. We are going to roll it out. I'm adding just a little bit of cornstarch. Now, I don't want to roll this too thin because I want to be able to press it out to make his cheeks the size I need them to be. Or his nose, what do you call it? Is it a cheek or a nose? And I'm just going to take my finger and press these out just a little bit, making them a little bit bigger. And I am going to pick them up and just make sure they don't have any residual fondant gum paste hanging out around the side. All right, let me put this back in my saran wrap. All right. So let's get these on. And I am going to glue them in 1 second. I just want to make sure before I glue them on that it makes sense. I am using plain water for his little nose. Now you can either place them here like I have them, or you can also push them further up to cover the little eye. It just depends on what kind of expression you want your lion to have. So I'm going to add just a little bit of water, not a lot, because you don't want your piece to be sloshing around on the face. I'm going to do it a little bit different and cover his little eyes a little bit, just to show that you can do different things. And then we're going to need a little black for his nose. A little black for the nose. Every time I make these little creatures, they end up looking different. Just a little bit of black. That's probably more than I need, but that's okay. I'll just pinch off what I don't need. All right. And so I'm rolling it in a ball, and then I'm going to take it between my two thumbs and my two index fingers and kind of make it into the shape that I want prior to putting it on his face. And then once I get it on his face, I'll, do a little bit more adjusting if I need to. Again, just a little bit of water, not too much. Don't oversaturate it. And I'm going to use my Dresden tool to push his nose into place. All right. And then taking some more of the fondant that we used for his body, I'm going to make a little circle like that. And we're going to use that for his mouth. Now you are going to need a little balling tool in order to do this. So I'm just going to pick it up with the balling tool, and I'm going to put it right in here, pressing it in. Now his mouth might be a little bit bigger than I like, but I'm going to leave it. And we're going to go ahead and attach his body to his head with a little water, and also his little arms to his body with just a little water. And I'm going to press it in a little bit with my Dresden tool. And once we get his hair on, that's going to help a lot. Now let's do his, we'll do his belly button and his paws. I am going to cut some of the roundness off of his, the bottom of his legs so that his paws will sit on there the way I want them to. So we'll add like his little, the little holes in his cheeks in a minute. All right, so let's do his little paws. We'll do the little paws and the belly button and maybe the tail. But the paws are a little bit lighter than his body. And the way I'm going to do his paws is real simple. I try to do this so that it's very easy to do. You can do this in advance. If you want to start early on your animals, you can do it months in advance. Just keep it out of direct sunlight and they should be fine. So we'll stick his one little arm out and we'll leave the other one next to his body. I like him to do different things. And all we're going to do is take this. I rolled it into a ball and then I'm kind of smashing it down a little bit. So one end is kind of fatter than the other one. And then that will become, well, we could start with his feet. We are going to put a little water down. And then I'm going to use my Dresden tool again to make sure it's stuck on there. Now you can make these as big or as small as you want. It's up to you. Again, rolling it in a ball and then kind of smashing it down so it kind of looks like that. Adding a little bit of water, not a lot. And then just using something, because my hands will completely mess this up. And we're going to do his arms too. Just a little bit of water, not a lot. Because you don't want your piece to be sloshing around while you're trying to work with it. Again, a circle. And you're going to just kind of make it bulbous at the front and a little narrow at the back. And then just add that to the little arm. And of course, if you're doing this, you may want to take your time and make sure these are the same size. On my website, I do have these molds that are different size circles that will help you to ensure your circles are basically the same size. I'm just winging it. But if you want to be precise, you can definitely use that mold to make all of your circles the same size. All right, and so we're done with that. we're going to use the same color that we use on his body to make his little belly button. So let's do the belly button too. The belly button is really simple. It's just a circle, a little ball. It's a little ball, and I'm gonna put it where I put my water. This might be a little bit more than I need. Let me take a little bit of it away. I've done these so many times, I can kind of feel how much I need. All right, and then we're gonna take a balling tool and just press right in the middle, like that. Now we do have to go in and do his little, the little fake feet. I'm gonna use this Atico scraper that I love. They come in packs of, I want to say, 2 or 3. This too is in on my Amazon storefront, so you can find that if you're interested. And I'm just gonna go in and make the little feet. They don't have to be, you know, too complicated. Just make sure you go in, and I'm just making 2 little lines, and I'm making sure I make them go all the way to the top as well, just to give him a little more detail. This to me is appropriate for like a baby shower with a farm theme, a safari theme, a kid's birthday party. All right, and there we go with that. We're gonna have this little arm stick out a little bit. All right, so let's do his tail next so we can be done with the body part. We're gonna do his little tail. And the tail is just a little piece of fondant that I've made into like a little rope. This is more than I need, so I'm gonna cut some of it off. Make it a little bit longer. And I'm gonna add some water to the side that I want the tail on. I'm just gonna put his tail right over here and make it come up by his navel, his belly button. That's his little tail. All right, and then we need the darker brown. We need a darker brown for the tip of his tail. And I just store this in my saran wrap. I'm gonna take out a little bit extra because we also have to give him his eyebrows. So we'll just go ahead and do his eyebrows too. So the tip of the tail is really easy. Just gonna take a little fondant, modeling chocolate mixture, and make something that kind of looks like this. I rolled it into a ball first and then into like a teardrop shape. I am going to use my balling tool to put like a little bit of a space at the tip of his tail to stick that into, so it looks a little bit more realistic. I'm gonna put a little bit of water down, which I really don't need because this fondant is so sticky. Let's make it a little bit smaller. I don't want it to run into the belly button. And then any adjusting we need to do, we can do once we get it on our little guy. So this is basically what it looks like. And I'll give it a little curl once I get it on him. Let me just push it on the side a little bit. Lift it up so it can go inside of this piece. And if you can't get it in there, no worries. Do the best you can. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a curl. Now this dark brown is a little sticky. Or do we want it to go this way? And if you find your fondant is a little sticky, you can always add just a little bit of powdered sugar if that's what you're using, or cornstarch, and it'll take some of the stickiness away. I can push his arm in a little bit since I got the tail on. And let's do his eyebrows. Remembering you can do whatever kind of eyebrow you want. But the idea is that this is simple enough for you to do multiples. Now this should be enough for 2 eyebrows. So I'm going to just cut it in half. But that's not in half at all. Let's do that again. That was not in half. All right, here we go. Cut this in half, or, you know, as close to in half as you can get it. And then I just roll them again. And what we're trying to do is make them sisters. They don't have to be twins. They just need to be sisters. And what I do is I get them on first. And then once I get them on or where I need them to be, then I start to fix them. Like, you know, make them the shape that I want. Get it on first. And then you can kind of mess with the shape. And I'm not going to mess with them too much. I'm going to just leave it. I'm satisfied with that. We're going to move on now and do his mane. Once we do the mane, we can then do this little hair and his ears. Because this little piece of hair and the ears actually sit on top of the mane. So we're going to be using this chocolate. And this is fondant. But for whatever reason, Satin Ice's chocolate fondant is very sticky. Now, there are 2 ways you can go about doing this. You can either roll this out and cut it, and you know, cut it as a circle, or you can do what I'm doing. I'm just gonna make it big enough to fit around his head. And then I'm going to cut the middle out so that I can slip it around his head. Now let's find a cutter. And again, these are Atikos as well. I'm going to use this one. And this is a 1.5. I'm going to be using this 1.5 to cut out what I need around his head. So that his head can fit through for me to be able to put his mane. And I'm going to just, again, put what I'm not using up. Now, if once you get it on, it seems like it's too much fondant, you can always just take some of it away by using another cutter to kind of cut away what you feel like is too much. And I just feel like it's just a little bit too much at the bottom. So I'm going to just cut some of that bottom off. I can work with the rest. Let me get this arm down a little bit. All right, and I'm satisfied with that. And if I need to remove any more, I'll do it as I go along. So I'm going to put, again, we save fondant. We don't throw fondant away. Put these on the side. And this is a Tico as well. And then we're going to go in with our Dresden tool, and we're going to add in the little details. Now I am going to cut some of this off the top, just like that, just because I think that's too much. And then we can go in and start doing our design. Now this is a little bit more at the bottom than I want to. I'm just going to move some of it off to the side, but you can make him as furry or not as you like. And again, I'm going to use this side of the Dresden tool to just go in and start making hair. Start making his little mane. You don't need to put too many in there, but just enough to make it look the way you want it to look. Be creative. Do your thing. Now I'm going to be looking at mine to see what I did on that one. I'm going to put one here. All right. And then here. Just got to make certain that you don't stick your fondant with the tool as you're going in to make your little hairs. I don't think he needs a whole bunch of hairs, just enough to make it make sense. And as you can see, I'm taking my Dresden tool on the outside and I'm kind of pulling it back in. That makes it look like it's separated and gives it like a more realistic look. And then go in, just add some smaller little hairs. And that's it. I'm satisfied with that. So I'm now going to do his little ears. Let's do his ears next. And you can add as much hair as you want. But, you know, just make sure it makes sense. All right, we're going to do his ears. And I'm, again, just going to roll his ears out by hand. I'm not going to measure anything. I'm just going to give him the ears that I think are the same. I roll it into a ball. Let me move down a little. I roll it into a ball, and then you want to take a balling tool and just press a little bit. on one end like that. Now let's see if these ears are too big. Yeah, they're a little too big. I think what I can do is make both ears out of this one ear. Normally that's what happens. I end up making both ears out of one. Let me get a little bit more. I don't know if I could get a weight on this. Let me see if my scale. Yeah, it won't give me a weight on it because it's not enough for me to get a weight on. But I'm gonna press them out again, leaving one side kind of thicker than the other. And we do the best we can to get them as close to twins as possible, but they don't have to be twins either. They can just be sisters. All right, and so we're going to add that in, and I'm not going to add any water or anything to it because the brown is so sticky that this should stick to the brown with no problem. And you can basically put your ears wherever you want. You can put them further off to the side. You can put them even with the brows. I'm going to put just a tip of water right up against his head so that they stick right there too. Go in with my balling tool and just give it a little press. And that's good enough for me. Now, I just had this little piece of brown, well, I got more, sitting out. So I'm going to use this to make the little hair at the top. I'm going to start out by rolling it into a ball and then roll it into something that looks like a teardrop, like that. Now, before you put it on his head, you may want to go in and add the little hair look while you're holding on to it. Just add a little hair, and then I'm going to give it like a little curl before I put it on. I'm going to add some water, and then I'm going to put it and I'll just add a little bit more detail now that I got it up here. Just like that. He's looking so cute. Now, if you want to, you can add a little detail to his tail too. It's just a smaller piece. So you just have to be careful not to mess it up while you're trying to make it look a certain way. All right. I don't know if I waited too late to put the little things in his um cheeks, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna use a toothpick. And I'm not gonna put as many as I put on that one. And when you go in with the toothpick, you just want to make sure you come straight out. I feel like I need one more. And that's it for that. And then we have to still add the little white part to his eyes and to his nose. And I'm going to be using the tiniest balling tool that I have. And I just my little cup that I've been using all week. I'm going to use the poppy paint Again, you can use white food color. If you have that, it doesn't matter. Whichever one you have will work just fine. Just make sure you mix it up really, really well. And if you want, we can also add some little cheekies to his face if we wanted to. Um, a little blush or whatever to give him, like, you know, the little pink cheeks or whatever. I'm not gonna do that just because I don't I don't really need it. I don't feel like. But make sure you go in and give your hair a little razzle dazzle. I don't know what this is. Something white fell in his mane. Let's see if we can get that out. And we'll just make that a piece of hair. And I'm satisfied with him. I think he looks great. He looks like the king of the jungle. All right, so let's do the white part. And I'm just gonna pour way too much in this cup, which is what I do every time. I pour way too much every single time. And then I'm going to use the teeniest tiny. Now you can also use the toothpick, but what I would do is I would cut off a little bit of the point so it's not so pointed, so it's not digging into your piece as you do it. I'm just going to use this friend. I'm going to do his nose first. And you do want to wipe this with a paper towel every time you go back into that white. There we go. Every time you go into the white, you want to wipe it off with your paper towel. This white is just a little runny, but that's okay. Oh, that's now see, that's too big. You see how that is too big? Let me show you how to fix that. Now it is gonna require some Everclear or some kind of alcohol to get that off. But let me show you how easy it comes off if you make a mistake. I say you can do it with water too, but the Everclear will evaporate and not leave any residue. So this is Everclear, and I'm just gonna get a little bit out, and then I'm gonna take and wipe away the mistake I made. Again, you can do this with water, but note that if you do it with water, water may leave like a little shiny residue on there, and you're gonna have to wait until your water is completely dry. With the alcohol, it evaporates fairly quickly, and so you can go in and do what you need to do. I'm going to use the oil-based food color for the eye just to show you the difference. Oh, look what I did. Look what I did. I got white paint all over him. That's okay. We can fix that with what? Everclear. I can be a bit of a klutz sometimes. So let's get this off. Again, using Everclear, we can clean up any mistake we make. Now this white might go down into one of these little holes. That's the only thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in with my toothpick. So like I said, you can do the same thing with water, but water is going to leave like a shiny residue. And this is Everclear that I'm using. I don't know if it's available in your area. And I'm actually just going to take it from right here off the top. That's still a little big, but I'm going to go with it. It's still a little big, but that's okay. And that's our little lion. We're going to put him on his backer once it's a little bit drier. Now, in order to get him off of this, what I normally do is I put my finished pieces. Both of these will go into the dehydrator at the lowest setting that you have. I normally put them in there and leave them in there overnight. You don't have to. You can put them in there for, say, no less than 2 hours. Because sometimes with the addition of the modeling chocolate, it does tend to take a little bit longer to dry. But just remember, dehydrator on the absolute lowest setting that you have and go from there. Once it dries, then I'll take my blade and I just scrape it off of this plastic, or sometimes I'll make them on a piece of parchment because it's easier to get them off like that. I'm going to leave him on here until after he dries, just because it's easier for me to get him off of this backing. But he will go on this little topper, and I kind of like my little creatures to kind of hang off a little bit. I don't really care if they're hanging off. This is a dummy cupcake that I use for demonstration, and as you can see, he fits perfectly on a cupcake. And this backing is even bigger than that one. I made this one a little bit bigger just to show the difference. So this one is a lot, not a lot, but a little bit smaller than the one that I made. And like I said, I don't mind if my toppers, I actually kind of like my toppers to hang off of my cupcake a little bit. I normally will put just enough buttercream right in the middle, when I put my topper on, I press down a little bit so it adheres to the buttercream. Sometimes some of the buttercream will poke out the sides. I'm okay with that, but I want the highlight of my cupcakes to be my little topper that I made. So that's it. We created our little guide. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will save this live so that you can view it. I may have to do a couple of little edits to it. Other than that, that's it. But I will be back again next Saturday. I'm gonna be making the horse, the cow, and a fox. I may also make a pig. I had a pig. I dropped her. I made these last year, I think. So I haven't done anything special to preserve them. You see how they're a year old. They're a little beat up, like a piece of his hair is missing, and I had to put his ear back on. But they will last for a very long time as long as you keep them out of direct sunlight. They should be fine. Hey, Letitia Bell. They should be fine. These are actually they at least, if not more, a year old. And I haven't done anything to preserve them other than I kept them out of direct sunlight. So you can definitely make your toppers well in advance. Nothing is going to happen to them as long as you keep them out of direct sunlight. You can also tell your clients that they make great keepsakes. You can put, a date on the back of it if they want to commemorate what the significance was for the toppers. They are so cute. They last literally forever as long as you protect them from the sunlight. Again, pop these into your dehydrator at the lowest possible setting. I normally put mine in. I leave them in overnight, so I turn my dehydrator on. It defaults to 106 degrees, and 8 hours. I just leave it at that. put them in there, and I just let them go. If I need them sooner, I try to leave them in the dehydrator for at least 2 hours before I pop them out, and I've never had any issue with my toppers. Now, if you want them to stay soft for some reason, you want to put them in a sealed container, like I like to use glass. I really don't. I mean, if plastic is fine too. You want to pop them into a airtight container, and it'll keep your toppers from getting hard. If for whatever reason you don't want them to be hard, that's the way to keep them soft. But other than that, that's all that I have for today. Again, I'm going to make this live available in the event that anybody is interested in reproducing any of these toppers. Again, my name is Gigi. I am the sugar and cake artist for Flirted Treats and Sweets. I really appreciate you joining me. If you enjoy my content, please do not hesitate to subscribe. I'm trying to build my channel and make it a place where you can come and create just about anything that you want to create using some basic techniques that I do demonstrate here and on TikTok. I'm live on TikTok Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 Eastern Standard Time. And for right now, I'll be live here on YouTube Saturdays at 12. I may flex and do a Sunday evening just to see how the two different days perform. Since I'm new to YouTube, I want to definitely check to see where my best audience is. Is it on Saturday at 12, or is it on Sunday at 6? But thank y'all so much for joining. Don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead and share, add a comment if there's something in particular that you want to see. Again, all of these are made from my Everybody Mode. You can find my Everybody Mode on my website. The link for my website is in my bio. Y'all have a great rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see y'all on Tuesday.